Krystl-AH is the fifth full-length album from Mephorash, a gnostic and quite interesting black metal band from Uppsala, Sweden, who at one point presented a very typical black death metal or orthodox black metal influenced sound early on, with two records that were, I guess, underground or amateur. They were beginners black metal records. They weren't bad at all. They were kind of interesting. If you were a fan of Watain around that time, you'd probably understand where this band was coming from. But they didn't have their own personality, and they were still forging relationships that were creative, as well as becoming apt enough to carry out bigger plans and bigger things. The bigger things, ultimately, that arose around 2015 with 1557 Rights of Nullification. This Most people saw this as more of a satanic or Luciferian black metal influenced sound, but it was certainly spiritual. It was founded around concepts of Gnosticism and mysticism surrounding that. And basically, I don't know that much about all of the symbolism beyond a lot of what was involved with Shemha Mephorash, their 2019 record, which was a bit more of an epic. It was a little bit more focused, and it made a lot of the ideas from 2015 double-sized. It made for a very big album, and also a very ambitious one that had very dramatic vocals and an interesting sense of pace, something that you got a sense of in their live performance that they put out during the pandemic. So, what are they doing now? It's something very different, but related. And I think you're going to have to be, you're probably going to have to be familiar with their previous one or two, the last two records to understand why this is a big change. And also just something that is quite obviously very interesting and different in terms of a black metal band's evolution. So in Gnosticism and Luciferianism, and the way they usually connect is that light is related to Lucifer, and I don't know that that is the direction this band is interested in at all. I actually don't know much about the lyrics or the themes beyond the visual and almost Dionysian way that they curate themselves on this album and the previous one, where they're not so typical in what the way that they display their beliefs, but they certainly associate with say some artists who are very much centered around Satanism and that kind of thing. Really, what they've done with this record is break through and avoid the boundaries of black metal in terms of centrally formed guitar music. And what I mean is that a lot of these songs are chorally driven with group vocals that are monastic and quite grandiose in their the way that they've fabricated these pieces and their dramatism. And not all of them line up with heavy metal and heavy rock structures entirely. Some of them feel like they have some classic opera and general orchestral influences in the way that they elaborate themselves and build up movements. Uh, so a lot of this for me was a bit of sensorial overload, because what I would typically associate with this type of sound is doom metal, and usually because there's a sort of spiritual penance involved with a lot of funeral doom. And this record isn't about penance, though. It's about various energies and light and dark and the vision and identity of God, as far as I understand, and uh, also just other things as well. There's a song with a bunch of sex noises. It's not just one thing on this record, but it's a big personality overall, and it's a big shift from their previous record. It's vexing, it's interesting, it's very much an engrossing thing, and it's quite a big album that really doesn't seem as long as it is, because it is so vocally driven and has a couple of really long songs that are just generally engrossing. So for me, this is a higher recommendation for November. It's an early like point of interest for me, and it's a record I've come back to pretty often. So go ahead and check that out. It's already out now, and go ahead and read my review for more details.
Shine for